Okay, everybody, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about why cash flow is always going to be king and will always be king over profits, crypto, all of that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. First thing I want to say is that for those people that I work with, there is some content I will be sharing about the current work environment in the future, some very toxic negative behaviors that I think need to be exposed, but that's a conversation for a different video. I will be retaining those things for my own personal records for further use if I ever feel the need to disclose it, and only I will know the time, the proper time in which those things should actually be revealed. So, or if it's even necessary. So with that being said, let's talk about the cash flow. So why is cash flow so important? Well, think about it for a second. If you work a regular job and you have dividends coming in on the side, well, you now all of a sudden have two sources of income. The more dividend income that you create, the less you have to rely on a particular job. Now, let's think about this in terms of geographical location. Excuse the train back there. It's really loud, I know. Sorry about that, y'all. I can't control that. So anyway, so in terms of geographical location, if you make enough every month in dividends, you can be invested in as much crypto as you want, but at the end of the day, or anything else, right? But at the end of the day, you still need money to be able to pay your bills. Everybody does, right? People have kids, families, wives, husbands, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter where you live, parents, sons, daughters, etc. So in order to do that, you need to have consistent flowing income coming in every month. This is extremely important, especially if you're rich. Like, for example, Bill Gates himself, I believe, if I read this correctly, Bill Gates has a dividend income every year of about I think it's like $500 million, or I can't remember the exact number. It's a lot of money. It's a lot more than you or I or anybody else probably has. But if someone of his caliber thinks it's important enough to have passive income, obviously it's a big deal, right? So there's a few things to this, okay? Number one, a dividend dollar will always 100% of the time beat a job dollar or a labor dollar. Why? Because as soon as you stop working the job, you no longer have the income. When you have dividends or options premiums, but that requires a level of expertise and technical analysis, that requires more strategy, more intelligence, deeper understanding of the markets, macroeconomics. There's a lot to it, okay? That could also be considered a form of income, but you have to be a little bit more strategic about that. You can't just place any given trade and expect it to play out. You could be completely random about it, DCA, all that stuff, but options, when it comes to covered calls and cash secured puts for passive income, it comes in lots of 100, and some of these stocks, ETFs, are really expensive to buy in lots of 100. So that's just something to think about. So anyways, in terms of the dividend income, the great thing about dividends is they can come in every week, every month, every quarter. Some of these are dividend growth stocks. Some of them are dividend ETFs that just kind of fluctuate flat over time, and then the dividends pay out, right? And that's your total return. Some of them are more income focused, which means the ETF itself is going to go down. But remember, again, the most important thing is the actual total return at the end of the day. That is the most important factor, is how much is your dividends plus your price appreciation or profits that you took. What is the number on that? Is it positive or negative? That's what matters, okay? Now, there's two different ways that you can go about dividend investing. You can either just DCA and say, well, I got a life. I don't want to spend a lot of time thinking about this, so I'm just going to DCA. I don't care what the price is. It could be expensive. It could be cheap. I got kids. I got 5 jobs. I travel for a living, whatever the case may be, right? Everybody has a different story. Or in my case, I'm just extremely busy. I'm busy practically all of the time. So, you may not necessarily have time to be more strategic about it. Fortunately for me, I have the expertise. I take the time to learn and understand these things about the markets to where, if I need to, I can position trade on a particular set of stocks or ETFs being at fear levels versus just buying it at random prices, right? And then ride it all the way to the top when it looks expensive. That requires some level of understanding and expertise. I can do that. Not everybody can do that. So when people DCA into the markets, it gives them passive income, a secondary source of income, which also allows them some level of freedom. Like I said, If you want to buy the dip, as it were, on dividend paying ETFs or assets of any kind, and you want to be strategic about it, that will require a little bit more time and effort. That's up to you to decide if you have the time and energy and you're willing to do something like that. Some people are willing to learn new skills. Not everybody is. Some people just don't care. They just want to live their lives. So you got different sets of people with different sets of requirements out there. I understand that. The other reason why dividend income or passive income in general, it doesn't necessarily have to be dividends. It could be anything that you create that does the work for you, whether you're involved in it or not. It could be a business, it could be royalties, it could be a blog, it could be options, it could be a YouTube channel or social media of any kind. Not necessarily YouTube, it could be Facebook, could be TikTok, could be anything, right? The idea is it does the work for you when you're not actually involved in it, okay? I'm using dividends as an example because it's the least passive, or the most passive form of passive income out there that I know of. So when you stop working, the income stops coming in. Now, if you get fired or laid off, what are you going to do for the income, right? Or if you just decide you want to retire, or I don't want to live here anymore, it's too expensive, I want to go move somewhere else. Let's say maybe I want to move to, and I'm talking about me personally, maybe I want to move to Tennessee or Texas, or maybe I want to move to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of where an affordable place would be, like Spain, or maybe like the Philippines or Mexico or something like that, right? If you have the passive income to be able to do that, you can just up and leave like that and just go. You don't have to ask questions. You don't have to say, hey, boss, can I get 2 weeks off to go check out this property? Although that may be a wise idea if you're buying property in another state or overseas. You kind of want to get a lay of the land and understand what you're getting yourself involved in before you actually pull the trigger, right? That just makes sense. Even Jesus talked about this when he was on earth in the Bible, right? It says, count the cost, right? You always want to understand the weight of your decisions before you make the decisions, which requires you to have a level of intelligence and strategic foresight and planning ahead of time. This is something that Trump is extremely good at, okay? I would say he's probably a master at this, truthfully, but you need to understand how to count the cost before you actually count the cost. But with the passive income, you're less likely to have to worry about getting approval from your boss or giving 2 weeks notice or any of that. It's not really such a concern. So there's that. Okay, now if there's a recession, you lose your job, you get laid off. And again, I really highly doubt we're going to have a recession. I just don't see that happening. You guys know that we study macros. So I don't foresee a recession. I really highly doubt that's going to be the case as of right now. But what I will say is if in the unlikely event that happens, if you have passive income, that passive income comes in every month. It doesn't matter what you do. Now, the underlying value of the assets, even if they are a dividend growth, ETFs and stocks may go down in value temporarily, which allows you to further buy the dip, thereby increasing your income by default, because again, dividend stock price and income have an inverse correlation. When the stocks and ETFs are expensive, you get less income for more money. The inverse is true. But regardless of whether that's the case or not, the reality is, at the end of the day, you have the income there. Okay, it doesn't matter if you get fired, doesn't matter if you get laid off, doesn't matter if you want to go look for a different job, go look for a part-time job, not work, you get married and you want to have 2 incomes. Whatever the case may be, you don't have to worry about anything. You can just go on about your business, F everybody else, that kind of thing, and you can just say, hey, screw all that crap, I'm going to go do what I want to do, and that's going to be the end of that. So this is the power of having dividends, and why cash flow will always be more significant than capital gains and crypto profits and stuff like that. Now, if you choose to learn to day trade, swing trade, options trade, these are different skill sets entirely. Social content creation is also different content entirely. These things have to be learned over time. You have to have a mindset to be willing to be a student of knowledge, to understand and learn all these different things like I have. It's not easy. Not everybody can do it. But the other thing, and I don't know why the hell this lady keeps walking behind my car, or I don't even know if it is a lady, but whatever the case, just ignore that. So anyways, so a couple other things that I'll be talking about with you guys in the future is things of like spirituality. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about a lot of things relating to God. We'll talk about training in the gym. There is some gym videos that I'm going to make for you guys to show you that I actually do what I say I'm going to do. Believe it or not, I am probably one of the most resilient, physically capable people you will ever see. Mentally, emotionally, all that stuff. You guys just don't know it because you've only seen the finance aspect of things thus far. So, but we'll be going over all that stuff, multiple different topics. I don't want to signal too much as to what that's going to be. It will be very random, but we will talk about that in the future. So just understand that cash flow will always be king, okay? Wall Street invests in companies that have great moats, that produce cash flow going into the future, and they don't want to buy anything that's not increasing in value. Let's just put it like that, okay? They want to buy at the right prices, but they want to buy quality companies that increase in value, like the Mag 7, like dividend growth stocks, like, for example, Johnson & Johnson, Lockheed Martin, Amgen, things like that, right? They only buy quality assets, typically speaking, on that side of the fence that have ever-increasing positive corporate cash flow, okay, with responsible management, CEOs, and the likes to that extent. So business is business. This is going to be a personal channel. We'll talk everything personal on here. Some of it may be finances, but it's going to delve more into the personal side as well. So with that being said, I'll see y'all later. Peace.